Picture yourself standing on a dusty plain in the Holy Land. The year is 1191. The sun beats down like a hammer on an anvil, and the air shimmers with heat and tension. You are a soldier in Saladin's army, battle-hardened, confident in your skills. Then you see them. A line of white mantles marked with blood-red crosses, moving in perfect formation across the sand. The ground trembles beneath the weight of their war horses. Your commander shouts orders, but his voice wavers, because everyone knows what comes next. The Knights Templar are not here to negotiate. They are not here to posture or retreat. They are here to charge. And when they do, the world will explode into violence so concentrated, so disciplined, that it will feel like the hand of God himself has reached down to crush you into the earth. This is not Hollywood. This is not romance. This is the brutal reality of facing the most feared military force of the medieval world. Warrior monks who viewed death in battle not as a tragedy, but as a doorway to paradise. So why did no one want to fight a Templar knight? Let us strip away the legend and examine the cold, mechanical truth of what made these men so terrifying. The origin of the Templars is deceptively humble. The year was 1119. The Kingdom of Jerusalem was barely 2 decades old and surrounded by enemies on all sides. Muslim raiders stalked the roads between port cities and holy sites, slaughtering Christian pilgrims before they could even glimpse the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The roads were rivers of blood, and no army could patrol them all. Then came Hugues de Payan, a knight from the Champagne region of France, with a radical idea. A brotherhood of warrior monks sworn to protect pilgrims. With 8 companions, he took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience before the Patriarch of Jerusalem. They pledged to live as poor soldiers of Christ. King Baldwin II granted them quarters in a wing of the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount, which Crusaders believed stood on the ruins of Solomon's temple. That belief gave them their name, the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, the Knights Templar. What began as 9 impoverished knights soon grew into a force that would shake the foundations of the medieval world. Not mercenaries fighting for gold, not feudal levies serving a lord, but a permanent, disciplined, religious military order, answerable only to the Pope himself. The Templars lived under a code so strict it would break most modern soldiers within a week. Their rule was drawn from the monastic guidelines of Saint Benedict, then sharpened and weaponized for war. No personal possessions, no private conversations with women, no flashy clothing or decorative equipment. Even their horses had to be modestly outfitted. No unnecessary adornments that might suggest pride or vanity. Their days were regimented with military precision. Prayers at dawn while the sky was still dark. Weapons training and armor maintenance through the morning. Silent meals where scripture was read aloud as the only sound beyond chewing and the scrape of wooden bowls. Think of it as compulsory background music, except instead of enjoying it, you are memorizing it while wondering if your mail needs another oil treatment. Disobedience meant immediate penance. A knight who broke formation in battle, who charged ahead seeking personal glory, could be stripped of his white mantle in front of his brothers. This was the ultimate humiliation short of expulsion, to be marked as one who placed ego above mission. They moved in tight formations, responding instantly to banners and trumpet calls. No knight acted independently. Discipline always trumped glory. The Templars fought as a single organism, and that unity made them devastating. In sieges, they held gates and walls until reinforcements arrived, or until they fell dead where they stood. When terrain made cavalry charges impossible, they dismounted without hesitation and fought as heavy infantry, their kite shields locking together like a wall of iron that could hold against any assault. From the moment a recruit joined the order, he ceased to be merely a knight. He was reshaped, forged into something harder and more dangerous. Months of brutal training drilled them without mercy. Fight in full armor until exhaustion becomes irrelevant. Control a warhorse under the chaos of battle. Hold formation in complete silence while arrows fall like rain. The training deliberately recreated the chaos of real combat. Sudden trumpet calls signaling rapid maneuvers. Fake retreats designed to test whether knights would break discipline and pursue. Rapid dismounts to simulate defending breached walls. And it was not just physical conditioning. Scripture and prayer drilled the mind as relentlessly as combat drills trained the body. The goal was to create a soldier who would obey without question, fight without fear, and die without hesitation. Weapons practice was endless and repetitive. Lances aimed at spinning quintains, rotating targets designed to strike back if your technique was poor. Sword strikes repeated thousands of times until the motion became pure muscle memory. Even during sleep, a Templar remained armed and armored, capable of being battle-ready within minutes of an alarm. Work-life balance? The concept did not exist. Imagine trying to sleep in chainmail while your commander expects you to leap into combat at any moment, day or night, for years on end. In combat, they were instruments of destruction. On horseback, the lance was their primary weapon, couched tightly under the arm for maximum impact. One perfectly timed charge delivered in formation could shatter enemy lines and turn an organized army into a fleeing mob. If the lance shattered on impact, they transitioned seamlessly to arming swords, maces, or warhammers, whatever weapon the situation demanded. Now let us discuss their armor, because this is where the Templar transformed from man into fortress. They wore a hauberk, a long shirt constructed from thousands of interlinking metal rings, covering the body from shoulders to knees. On the head, a coif, a hood of chainmail protecting the skull and neck from slashing blows. For the legs, chausses, flexible chainmail leggings strapped over thick padding. Underneath all of this metal, they wore a gambeson or acketon, thick padded garments designed to absorb impact and prevent the mail from rubbing skin raw during hours of movement. Over time, they added plate reinforcements to elbows, knees, and shins, gradually evolving toward the full suits of armor that would define later medieval warfare. And crowning it all was the Great Helm, the iconic flat-topped bucket that enclosed the entire head. It provided unmatched protection at the cost of vision and breath. Imagine fighting for hours in the desert heat with a steel bucket trapping your breath and limiting your sight to narrow eye slits. No wonder their prayers were efficient. Their shields bore the Red Cross, serving dual purposes: defense and psychological warfare. A wall of Templars advancing in formation, their shields locked together, could break enemy morale before a single weapon was drawn. The sight alone was often enough to cause panic. In sieges, they were not limited to cavalry tactics. They manned crossbows with deadly accuracy, braced spears against charging enemies, and operated trebuchets with terrifying precision. Because nothing says holy devotion quite like launching a 200-pound stone through someone's castle wall. The Templars did not just train for war. They lived it, breathed it, became it. Their legend truly began at the Battle of Montgisard in 1177. A few hundred Templar knights charged into Saladin's massive army of thousands and sent the greatest Muslim general of the age fleeing for his life. King Baldwin IV, the Leper King, had only a fraction of Saladin's forces. Sick, outnumbered, hopelessly outmatched by every military calculation. Saladin had grown overconfident, his forces spread out and vulnerable. The Templars charged in perfect formation, armored warhorses thundering across the plain, lances leveled. The shock of impact tore through Saladin's lines like a blade through cloth. The panic was instantaneous. Saladin himself barely escaped with his life, his reputation severely damaged. Nothing announces your arrival quite like a handful of poor monks routing the most powerful army in the Middle East and making its legendary commander run for the hills. Then came Hattin in 1187, the Crucible. Saladin lured the Crusader army, including the Templars, into the arid hills near Tiberias. Blazing heat, no water, no escape route. It was a trap, and they had walked directly into it. The Templars held formation as long as humanly possible, but even their legendary discipline could not overcome dehydration and exhaustion. The Crusaders were crushed. Hundreds of Templars were captured. Most were executed immediately. Saladin respected their courage enough to offer them conversion to Islam or death. Every single Templar chose death. If you are going to be annihilated, at least do it so stubbornly that even the man who defeated you admits you were the most terrifying enemy he ever faced. The defeat led directly to the fall of Jerusalem. The surviving Templars led the defense, guarding the walls and rallying the remaining forces. They held out for days against impossible odds, but in October 1187, the city surrendered. Those who could pay ransom were allowed to leave. Those who could not were sold into slavery. But the fall did not end their mission. It transformed it. From that moment forward, the Templars were not defending the Holy City. They were fighting to reconquer it. Next came the Siege of Acre from 1189 to 1191. 2 solid years of siege warfare. Disease and heat killed as many men as combat. The Templars repelled night raids, launched assaults on the walls, and inched siege towers forward through storms of arrows and burning oil. Imagine camping outdoors for 2 consecutive summers, except instead of enjoying nature, you are dodging arrows and drinking water that smells like death. At the Battle of Montgisard in 1191, they demonstrated their ultimate discipline.